Joining me now is Sky News contributor Tina McQueen and New South Wales Independent MP Tanya Mihalek. Hi to both of you as always.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me. Now, we've got to start, of course, with the Bush Summit that we saw today where the Prime Minister and Jacinta Allen were heckled. Have a look.
And I'll continue to engage, but I won't bullshit people. I won't say...
Supporting renewable energy projects as well that are driving investment.
And it was so bad, the Prime Minister was even chased out of town by farmers on tractors. Well, they didn't want him there, did they, Tina?
No, and finally some pushback, you know, thankfully. And now he must know what it feels like to only get 34% of the vote. You know, the penny may finally drop. It really rattled him. I could tell he was really rattled. You know, but we've had the West Australian and the Queensland Liberal Party have all put motions to withdraw from Paris to stop the net zero. So this wasn't unexpected, this reaction. But look, I think it was wonderful to see. There's some honest reaction from the public, not some sanitised viewing area. So it was good to see him under pressure. I don't think it's going to change anything. The gall of him to just say, you know, how cost-effective wind farms were. I mean, what did he think people were just going to sit there and nod?
And the science. He was talking about the science of climate change. How tone deaf is he?
Oh, exactly. When these people, a lot of their lives have been ruined by wind farms and, you know, transmission grids.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
And it really is the farmers who are suffering from this race to renewables. They're the ones who've got these hideous transmission lines razoring their properties. And, you know, here in New South Wales, there's that fight in the regional town because they've got wind farms of 270 metres going up. So it's literally ripping towns apart, Tanya.
Well, I've got to say, watching that footage, my first thoughts were, hell hath no fury, like a farmer scorned.
Yes,
okay?
so
well
true.
Done to them. They have really come out fighting, and that footage was fantastic to see. And look, they've got to fight. They've got to fight because it's about their survival. They're being hit from every angle when it comes to this government. Their prime agricultural land is being pushed into, you know, forced upon them to make it renewable lands and solar and wind farms everywhere. They're now getting fined. You know, the Jacinta Allen government has announced that if you don't accept transmission lines onto your farm property, you will be fined up to $10,000, $12,000. That's outrageous.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
On top of that, super tax, okay? If you've got farms now, 30% tax on unrealised paper gains. So they're attacked from that angle. And of course, high energy prices are costing the viability of these farms. Farmers just can't operate like this, and they've got to fight.
You know,
so well done.
Danica, Susan Lee said all the right things today, but not a single policy. I mean, now was her opportunity. She should have said, we will withdraw from Paris.
Well, she was asked about it and she paused on it, and she didn't have she did not have an answer on it.
They're not going to change. She's part of the moderate Liberals. They're not going to change.
They're not going to change.
She's not even a moderate. She's got no convictions at all. She's worse than a moderate.
No, she's not going to change her policy to appease the moderates in the party. It's very, very clear. But I've got to say, here is an example of real leadership. Have a listen to the US president on wind farms this week.
They're ugly, they don't work, they kill your birds, they're bad for the environment, and if you look at them from a house, your house is worth less than 50%. So I'm trying to have people learn about wind real fast, and I think I've done a good job, but not good enough because some countries are still trying, and they're destroying themselves. Those are countries that are really destroying themselves. I hope they get back to fossil fuel.
I mean, spot on. What a shame, Tina, that our Prime Minister doesn't share that common sense.
Well, I can assure you that our Prime Minister's comments will be forwarded to the President's office, so he knows exactly where Albanese stands and the difference in their two views, you know, like a wonderful, just common sense policies. Like, what a great leader.
Well, remember he went to the UK a couple of weeks ago and he said it in front of someone from the European Council who, I mean, look, Europe's gone absolutely nuts with their wind farms, but he said it to them that they're a complete waste of money.
Well, he said it was ugly in France, and, you know, that's what he said. But he knows that he's got a big battle himself because it's the inner city elites in the US, very similar to our situation, that are imposing these wind farms on regional rural communities. He's got the same problem. I was in New York, upstate New York recently, where you had farmers that are fighting back, but New York City, all the legislators there want wind farms. So he knows the problem he has. He knows they're ugly. We know they're ugly. But like it's a battle for us, it's a battle in the US as well.
Absolutely, yeah, they're absolute monstrosities. As I said, 270-metre wind farms going up in New South Wales, absolutely tearing.
Size of Centrepoint Tavern.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just out of control. Now, look, we've got to talk about the Home Affairs Minister, Tony Burke, and the Multicultural Affairs Minister, Anne Ali. Both issued a joint statement this week condemning planned anti-immigration rallies this weekend, saying there is no place in our country for people who seek to divide and undermine our social cohesion. We stand with modern Australia against these rallies. Nothing could be less Australian. Well, let's talk about what's more or less Australian. Week in, week out, Tina, we have seen these anti-Israel protests, terror flags being flown around the country. You've got the Ayatollah of Iran, his portrait being hurled down the Harbour Bridge and holding the Australian flags, anti-Australian.
Those protests, they go up Market Street. The trams are stopped.
Yeah.
Are stopped while they have right away every single weekend. I can't believe the hypocrisy in these people. It makes me sick. You know, if they really don't want these rallies, cancel all those rallies. It's disgraceful.
Well, I just think Tony Burke's looking after his own electorate.
Of course he is. Yeah.
He absolutely is looking after his own electorate, but at what expense? I mean, I can't believe that he could make a statement to suggest these rallies are going to be un-Australian. And the idea that they're, in some respects, frightening certain communities too and making it think that there's something terrible about these rallies. Look, let's have a look at David Crisafulli in Queensland.
Yeah.
He hasn't condemned them. He's a multicultural minister, has refused to condemn them. And I noticed New South Wales Premier and indeed the State Multicultural Minister have not followed Tony Burke and Anne Ali in condemning these rallies. So I think they're out on their own to some extent, Tony Burke and Ali, in terms of condemning this, because everybody else can see that this is just an opportunity for people to come together who want to share a passion and love for Australia. And it doesn't matter what their background is. I think there'll be a lot of people of multicultural background that will be at these rallies.
I agree. But the thing is, what's happened right now in our country is if you wave the Australian flag, you're passionate about this country, suddenly you're labelled far right. It's not far right to love your country. It's not far right to be waving the Australian flag. We should be proud of our flag. We stand under one flag.
We're not extremists to be proud of our flag.
No, but that's the problem. And I just feel like that joint statement implied that, you know, they're demonising people. I just think it's, you know, again, if Tony Burke wants to have a look at what's un-Australian, have a look at the madness going on with these pro-Palestine protests week in, week out. So big weekend ahead, no doubt. Tina McQueen, Tanya Mihaela, good to see you both as always. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.